extend my deepest gratitude to all who have contributed to the relief effort so far, including our international partners, NGOs, private sector, and the countless volunteers who have shown extraordinary generosity and dedication. I have no doubt that through collective resolve and unity, we will emerge even stronger and more resilient than before. Thank you, and may God continue to bless and protect Jamaica.
Concern for those whose lives.
The leader of the opposition is speaking. Let's listen to that for a bit.
By this recent hurricane beryl in the Eastern Caribbean, in particular the Grenadines, St. Vincent and Grenada, Barbados to a lesser extent, but still Barbados, of course Jamaica, and now Texas. And it shows the power of these massive storms that are being exacerbated by the effects of global warming, warming temperatures of the sea that energize these storms, and the setting of all kinds of records to do with how quickly they develop from relatively slow moving or minor weather events, rapidly converting into major storms, category 4, category 5 hurricanes. So, and we're just in early July, and we've already had to endure such a major event. And, you know, I join in the prayers that have been expressed that we be spared further such events in the coming months and get through the rest of the season without having to endure another one. Prime Minister, like you, I have been on the ground visiting affected areas, and the resilience of the Jamaican people is remarkable. Yeah. The love for each other, the help, each one helping one, the spirit of that is manifest over and over again, wherever I have been. And the suffering out there is very real. So many people have lost their roofs, some have lost their houses entirely. Many Jamaicans are without electricity still, and water. As you've said, things that require cooling, medication, those things are impacted. Livelihoods are being affected. Fishermen can't really go out and catch fish now because they can't chill the fish pending sale because there's no power to run the refrigerators on. And I hope, for example, that the fishing villages like Parati, Alligator Pond, and so on, that generators will be provided to them early so that they can run their fridges and get back on their feet as fishermen. And we know the pumping stations in St. Elizabeth, there's several of them. They need their own power supply now, independently. Generators that can get them up and running so that irrigation systems can flow as well to our farmers. So there's a crisis. So many instances over the last few days where I've come across often a woman, I remember a woman in Bull Savannah, her house had been flattened. She lived with 5 other grandchildren included, and she was just, tears were just running down her face. Quietly, she wasn't making a big hullabaloo, but the pain she was in was manifest. And I remember in Alligator Pond meeting a young mother with 2 young children, lost her house entirely. we're going to have to do something quickly for those people. Elderly people, amputees, whose houses have been destroyed, roofs gone. The rain fell, as you said, a few days after the hurricane flooded out their houses. They're living in pitiful conditions, Prime Minister, and we need to get help to them quickly. You know, in Portland Cottage, the scale of the damage there is frightening. And all of these areas, the electricity distribution system is devastated. And, you know, we hope that the JPS will be able to move with alacrity to those areas and really restore the electricity there as quickly as possible. If they feel that they have inadequacies of resources, I hope additional support will be provided from externally, as was done in Hurricane Gilbert, when there was extensive damage to the transmission and distribution system of JPS. Prime Minister, you have said that the benefits, the support, the relief must be distributed on a non-partisan basis. We endorse that. We will hold the government to it. It is extremely important. The CARE program was largely distributed through electronic transactions, the compassionate grant and those sort of things. That allows an easy audit trail. Where you're talking about handing out benefits in kind, there's a whole different ballgame in terms of how that can be managed on the ground. And we would love to see transparency in that, the inclusion of non-government organizations, the Red Cross, the churches, as part of that system to make sure people feel it is transparent and it is fairly done. Prime Minister, what I noticed with this situation, though, is that we need to be more proactive in advance of these events to ensure the infrastructure is in a condition that it can handle these events. We have too many drains and gullies where remedial work, sometimes the gully walls have collapsed, they haven't been fixed, they're blocked as a result, and then water comes down, flows into adjoining communities. These situations we must be proactive for. We should also look, when we are entering a hurricane season, look at having relief and provisioning and equipment distributed into strategic locations in advance, so that if there are hits, we can get relief to people quickly.
The member's time has expired.
Give me a few more minutes, 5 more minutes.
You know, this is really of the.
Mr. Speaker, the member's time has been expired, and in consultation, he's asking for an additional 5 minutes so that he could complete that. I make that point because it is the stated request of the member. Normally, it would be until he closes. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The motion on the table is for the member's time to be extended for additional 5 minutes. All those in favor? All those against? The ayes have it. Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. So the issue of resilience also applies to the JPS system. We saw many instances of poles which had been impacted by trees and so on, and that's a maintenance problem, obviously. But there are also instances of poles which have just collapsed because they were insufficiently anchored. So when I'm hoping that JPS, in rebuilding its distribution system in those areas which are badly affected, will take into account where there has been weaknesses in the arrangement and build into that, into the replacement of those assets, a greater concern about the resilience of the posts and so on. Mr. Speaker, communities which are at risk, we need to bring some attention to those communities. In the corporate area, New Haven, for example, the Dehaney River needs to be desilted. The drains that are feeding into that need to be looked at. There are some engineering issues which need to be fixed to prevent flooding, so those communities don't have to endure such regular flood conditions. It's one thing to have a multi-layered fiscal protection, which is essentially what the government has over time been building out. But we also need to have, before the event, expenditures to provide some balance so that we don't have as much disruption to people's lives by avoidable damage, which had the necessary infrastructural arrangements, the cleaning of drains, the fixing of drains and gully walls and so on. Had those things been done, then we wouldn't have suffered quite as much damage in those areas. So we need some balance in our approach to be proactive and have those programs being done methodically and on a regular basis. And also on the back end, those measures, those reserves, those financial instruments and so on that ensure that the budget can sustain the remedial work, which you've done a lot to address, Minister of Finance. I was hoping to hear from you today on the financing of the restoration. We've heard that the $4.5 billion in the contingency and disaster fund is available. We've heard the $2.5 million under the CRIF policy. We've heard that the CAT bond will not be triggered. So we've also heard that the NWA is estimating $10.5 billion worth of damage just to main roads alone, preliminarily to main roads alone. And we know that there are at least 1,000 homes, and maybe a bigger number, it's more than that, that are going to need support from the state for people to get going. So one has to, I would love to have heard how you plan to utilize those funds. Given that we're so early in the season, yeah, it's early, but I'm saying we're early in the season. And, you know, we have to make a decision to what extent you're going to spend your equity, so to speak, the cash that you have set aside now, and hope that there isn't another one, or you're going to say, well, we're going to have to keep something back because there may be more, and we can't spend everything now on that. So these are the kind of decisions that, as minister, with the facts available to you, we in the opposition and the wider public want to hear what those decisions are, what the thinking is behind them, and so on. The bulk of the funding that's available above the 7 million that is debt. The 7 billion is debt, which is the contingent claim arrangement that you have, which is like a 25-year loan, I think. So we are going to see the need to borrow some of the funding that we are going to have to spend on this, unless we're going to decide, you know, not to address the needs of the population, which is not I don't think we can do that. You know, we have to make sure that people receive the sufficient support to get themselves back on their feet. From our perspective as an opposition, Prime Minister, colleagues, we commit ourselves to being part of the solution. We want to, as members of parliament, play the role that we are already playing in trying to ease some of the pressures on our constituents, using the resources that have been made available through the CDF system. And generally speaking, while we may be critical of some issues, it is where we see things that are falling short and which need to be called out so that adjustments can be made, improvements can be made, things can be fixed. Because we're out there too, we're seeing things, you're seeing things. But it's all in the spirit of trying to get Jamaica beyond this present disaster and get our lives back in order again. So Prime Minister, as long as the process of relief distribution is done transparently and equitably, we will be partners in trying to bring the lives of our people back to where daily living is no longer the struggle that it is now for those people are affected, and people can be comfortable again. Thank you, comrades.
Member from Southeast St. Andrew.
Mr. Speaker, I want to follow up from the opposition leader related to the issue of financing. We have 2.5 billion from the CRIF facility, and I want to acknowledge the work that our predecessors, Omar Davis in particular, did on this to initiate it so that we can benefit from it. We have 4.5 billion. We have 4.5 billion from the NDF and the contingency fund. I want some clarity on the National Disaster Fund. When we were here a couple of weeks ago, you had indicated that to trigger access to that fund, the damage would have to total 1.5% of GDP. By my estimate, that's about 45 billion and would have to be confirmed by the fiscal commissioner. So the 4.5, which you have indicated that is currently available, is that a drawdown from the NDF? And what I also want to know is, has the work from the fiscal commissioner started to determine whether we are going to get to the 1.5%? I know we're not there yet because all estimates wouldn't be in place, but anecdotally, I believe we will possibly get there to 1.5%. Thirdly, in relation to the NDF, when we were here a couple of weeks ago, you had also indicated that it would act as a fund that would also deal with non-governmental donations and contributions when disasters happen. So I want to know whether the NDF is going to play that role. I know where there's the ODPM is dealing with some fundraising, but would the National Disaster Fund play any role in coordinating other fundraising, whether from countries, donor agencies, etc., and what would be the mechanism for the management of those funds once they come in to the NDF? And then finally, I want to ask you about the Cat 5 bond. We know it hasn't been, sorry.
63.
I'm asking the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister can consult with whoever he wishes to.
I think it's 63 or so.
With the Cat 5 bond, I know it was not triggered now. The question I would ask is, was there an option to expand the coverage related to the bond, which may have necessitated paying a higher premium? It also possibly, I don't know whether there would have been takers for the bond, but was that option explored? And also whether the bond facilitates multiple payouts, meaning if you have an activity, God forbid we don't have it, but if we have it 2 months down the road and then another one next year, would the Cat 5 bond facilitate multiple payouts in a given time period? My understanding is that we have it until, and you can clarify, 2026, I believe, or 2027. So during that period, if we have more than one event, would we benefit from the payout if we meet the threshold? So those are my questions.
Most Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start with the member from. So I was going to take off the two questions. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will start with the member from Southeast St. Andrew. His questions first, relating to the NDF and the CAT bond. Member, I'm going to task the Minister of Finance to respond to you on the specific and technical questions that you have asked on the bond. In fact, at the next sitting, we're at the next sitting, next Tuesday. So we will give you those answers. You may, however, hear those answers in the press before when we speak. As it relates to the funding going to the ODPM, As it is now, it is quite likely that all the funds donated and used, well, all the funds donated will be used in the relief, in the immediate relief. It is unlikely that there would be any reserve to be put to the NDF, the disaster fund. No.
Imagine
So
all know they can't get money together. So hold
the
anything
funds that come to the
happen.
ODPEM
Lord
could be
Jesus,
managed
denied.
by the ODPEM and distributed to the relevant entities and agencies and used in the relief exercise right away. In terms of the questions raised by the leader of the opposition, we didn't say this, but it's important that it is said, and I'm happy you've asked the question. Before the hurricane, we spent $188 million on preparation.
We don't want to hear that. We want to hear more what happened
drain
now.
cleaning. We spent $20 million
Jesus.
at the Sandy Gully. The member of parliament for Western St. Andrew, for which you toured, would verify that expense. But it did work. So I just so that the country, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Members, please, members. Members, South St. Catherine. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I am not trying to in any way diminish the general point being made by the leader of the opposition, which is that greater expenditure in preparing for a natural disaster is something that any government must undertake. Right. But I wouldn't want the impression to be given that no preparation was made. Right? In fact, the government undertook significant preparation. And in any event, you know, there are areas which historically, if not cleaned, if not opened up, would cause flooding. And those areas, Mr. Speaker, those areas were addressed. In addition, all members of parliament were allocated drain cleaning for their constituency just before the event. And I'm certain that most of them undertook the work and they found that it was meaningful in preventing, as little as it is, it can open a drain, and that is important. The reference by the leader of the opposition to the maintenance of the national grid, particularly the distribution network, is something that we have to pay attention to. The JPS is required to submit to the OUR, I believe it would be, and to the Minister of Energy, their hurricane preparation plan and their maintenance plan. A far more rigorous review of those plans would be undertaken to ensure that the grid, which is a national infrastructure, is in a position to withstand hurricanes or other weather events. It is critical, and so I agree that greater attention should be paid to that. Just an observation, Mr. Speaker, in response to the questions of the leader of the opposition. At some point, the country has to accept that it is only with robust economic growth that we are going to turn the things we wish for into reality. Madam Speaker, we stand here not just for this disaster. I've been in this house now for 26 years and been through a few of them, and every time we stand up, it's the same thing. Government should have pre-positioned, government should have spent more. The challenge is, Mr. Speaker, as every member of parliament in here knows, government, whichever government it is, they just don't have it. The budget is just not there. So what is it that we should be focusing on? whether it is government or opposition, let us focus on growing the economy. That is the focus. Let's building resilience, yes, is part of how we're going to grow the economy. So it's important that
Can we get to the recovery and the rebuilding, please? Can we get to that?
The lady who was shedding tears in that district in Bull Savannah in St. Elizabeth, where she lost her home, that the message is that yes, the immediate sympathy and response will be there, but the government is also working to ensure that this does not repeat itself, that we break this cycle of lack of resources to build resilience so we can withstand shocks. That's really the very first time that any government has actually taken this on. A deliberate and instrumental attempt at building resilience and growth in our economy. And I think that must be the message that leaves this debate to the people who are expecting the support and relief from the government. You are going to get the support, you are going to get the relief, but the government is also going to strengthen you and give you the endurance and the resilience to withstand future shocks, which if it is one thing that is certain, there is going to be another future shock.
Member of St. Andrew Western.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister, do you agree that there are some strategic and critical infrastructure that for which the vulnerability of which, if we don't invest and address them prior to a hurricane, will further undermine our economy, and that the Sandy Gully forms part of that network that needs to be addressed, and that for years we've been pleading and begging, way before a burial even was formed or was even in any, and that nothing has been done to address the situation with respect to the Sandy Gully, except in the upper reaches of Sandy Gully, which is where the problem does not exist. The problem exists in the lower reaches, where the trees and the blockage to the flow of water, should the rain come, exists currently. And that the evidence of this is the attempt to do a quick clean of sections of the gully just under the bridge, which was welcome and it probably helped. But that the bigger problem, Prime Minister, exists with the broken protective wall, the floors of the gully, and the severe blockage going into the Onsby. Prime Minister, I heard you again because you said more hurricanes will be coming, and we may have escaped it this time, but we may not be lucky next time. We need to address this as a matter of urgency. It's undermining people's houses. It has broken the banks of the gully and undermining people's houses and threatening different communities on both sides of the gully. Prime Minister, you're well aware of the problem, well aware of it. I'm asking that be done. The similar thing is in New Haven. New Haven is a constant situation. And we have made some community efforts, and I'm seeking the assistance to address what's something that can be addressed to alleviate what is a clear and present danger in the New Haven community. So those two things, Prime Minister, I'm asking for some focused attention. Yeah.
Member from Clarendon Southwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Prime Minister, for your statement earlier in the House. Just to be clear, Prime Minister, that the impact of Tropical Storm Beryl was not restricted to just southeast Clarendon, but all of southern Clarendon. In fact, I'm not surprised that when that tour was being held in southeast, none was held in southeast.
Let's take a break from the shenanigans
at that time.
for now. I will continue to monitor them with regards to if anything comes out. Ian, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome Thank you all for joining us. We never get to start properly or do on a roll call, but never mind, we will do it another day. Preparedness, disaster preparedness, and emergency management. What does that really mean in context to the government? If the country doesn't have a pre-prepared system, as Carlos advised them, to hit the road running immediately after a disaster. Both governments over the years, given our track record since Gilbert, have turned a blind eye to hurricane safety. But this government, in this particular unfolding disaster, is showing a woeful lack of management, lack of coordination. You mean to say, foreign people can decide how much money them a pledge to Jamaica disaster relief or rebuilding efforts? And this your government can come give way a budgetary direction of how Jamaica are going to rebuild? How much it is on, and the government just are going to send in extra support into St. Elizabeth? When you say how much percent of people back on, because a lot of people from different parishes across Jamaica still are complaining that them don't have no light yet. So them big whole heap of percentage there. What the JPS said they're back on, what are they really talking about? The Prime Minister has gone around the country flying and shaking hands, when the Prime Minister ought to be sitting down in Kingston, having his emergency cabinet, as to how we are going to coordinate and fund the recovery and rebuilding exercise. All this time wasted running across the country. The Prime Minister needs to be in Kingston coordinating. Carlos tell you what it should have been. Carlos never have to tell you or experience. And if you are take copy for your international friends, good God Almighty, where this whole thing did for disaster preparedness and emergency management. Preparedness, disaster preparedness. That means to say, you should have, since Gilbert, Ivan or the whole of them will come, should have given enough experience to say, okay, we know so we may have difficulty traveling around the country from the city when it done. So every city are going to have the emergency alertness and preparedness to move in when the system, when the disaster blow over. But almost a week on, and the government is still yet to get themselves together. They haven't decided how much the disaster really costs or is going to cost. The control freak of a prime minister cares about coordinating donation. I know that prime minister will want you to coordinate. We don't want you to coordinate. the donation, Prime Minister. We want you to coordinate the recovery and the rebuilding effort. We want you to show good management, Prime Minister, not flying around the country shaking hands. It really doesn't help the people on the ground at the moment who are suffering, who are in desolate condition, who are losing their livelihood day by day. Even though we never catch the Prime Minister talking from the start, me don't hear not much in an answer. Me don't hear not much in an answer with Jamaican fee hold on pan and say help is on the way. The government is still mullering through how much it go cost, how much we're going to take from here, so how much we're going to take from this, so, and so on. How the foreign people them can decide how much them are going. Why you, the Prime Minister, is not coordinating emergency relief where decisions Prime Minister are made within 12 to 24 hours? This just cannot. But let me tell you, says the last chance you have to prove yourself. And see there, it is going all over the place, Prime Minister. All over the place, flying and shaking hands and making promises all over the place, but no proper rescue recovery effort coordinated from government to operate down there on the ground. It's just not there. Let's go back in and hear the Prime Minister's response.
St. Catherine Eastern, member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister, I am certain you're going to be in agreement with me as we both come from Spanish Town. And I remember very clearly when we were on Zoom, and I said to you that Burke Road is going to be a serious issue. And at the end of it, the hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, was flooded. I was told, and I do not want to say that the officer is not getting information, but I do not know if it is something that is on the spot. Because the drainage, and you would know, Prime Minister, that it has outgrown the town of Spanish Town. There is no drainage there. Starting from Burke Road, Adelaide Street, Young Street, everywhere in Spanish Town can create serious catastrophe if there is any kind of serious flooding in this country. It is very, very serious. And I'm saying to you, Prime Minister, that a serious look must be taken of Spanish Town if we are going to preserve the history of Spanish Town. And we know that it is literally a town that is well used almost by every other parishes in and around. And nothing has been done to Spanish Town to really give it a good boost. Spanish Town Hospital, as we speak, is in a very serious position if there comes any more rain within the next month. And this concrete thing that I heard about falling into drain when nobody couldn't see it, I don't buy into that. Because you can use your eyes to see If you go out there now, Prime Minister, you would realize that starting from LOJ shopping center, where that drain leads straight down to Port Anderson Road and all those areas, is totally in a deplorable condition. $1 million in my
What he fears.
constituency,
What he
tearing up
fears.
between Windsor Heights, Central Village, giving 200,000 or 100,000 a year, cannot touch not even the surface. And if we are serious about mitigation, we have to make sure that we do the right thing. And I heard my colleague just said, and I'm not going to say that the agency is not aware. I don't think they have first-hand knowledge. Time come for them to have first-hand knowledge. They are experts. Most of these heads of agencies are expert in their own fields and rights. They need to put on their boots and they need to go out there with the engineers to see exactly what is happening. And last, because I do not want to keep up your time, the 5 million that has been announced, a lot of people believe that it is at home. And they are preparing to come home for it because they are getting very, very, very eager now that nothing is being spent. We are now hearing about another additional $4 million. And I want to thank you, even though I know it is going to be not woefully inadequate, but for us to do something worthwhile, it can really, it's not going to be enough. But I know you will do better the next time around. But Prime Minister, let us be very clear coming out here this evening. Very clear. What is going to happen to the first 5 million? When we are going to get it, because some of the creditors, some people are very lucky to go to some big place to get credits. Some of us not getting any credit. We have to know where the money coming from. Well, yes, we are not as fortunate. It's not all of us fortunate. So I'm asking you, Prime Minister, give us a date. Give us some time. So we're going to get 5 million by weekend. That means I can start, the creditor will hear you in here, and they will credit me at that time. So, Prime Minister, please give us some clearer answers. Thank you.
Member of Manchester Northwest.
Prime Minister, I mean, I'm going to just pick up where my colleague left off. Because, you know, it's always good to make the announcements. But at the same time, when the funds don't flow as efficiently as the announcement, it causes problems. Because even though I may not be on the coast side, but the hilly section of Northwest Manchester, especially that section overlooking St. Elizabeth, was damaged by wind. Many of the houses got damaged. And Northwest Manchester is a constituency that is highly dependent on agriculture. That's the only industries we have. So once the announcement was made prior to the hurricane, constituents expect us to respond right away after the hurricane. And, you know, like my colleague, I'm very cautious in having any credits when the money has not yet arrived at the agency which has responsibility for spending those resources on behalf of our constituents. So a little urgency where that is concerned, so that we can then quickly respond to our constituents. But also on the issue of the government agencies. What I see happening, Prime Minister, is that when there's no catastrophe or any hurricane or any event like this, many of these agencies are still short-staffed. And when you have an event like Beryl, there's no additional staff
to take on the additional work that is brought on by this emergency. And I think that because of that, many of the tasks that they have taken on has become, I would say that they're dragging along, because just today, while on my way to Parliament, getting a call from an agency about two shelters in my own constituencies that are still open, that there's no food there to provide for the residents that are there. And they don't have the capacity to provide these foods. And as Member of Parliament asking me, when yet still I have not gotten the resources that has been committed to the constituency, which makes it a little bit difficult. The one social worker per constituency to deal with many of the issues that many of us are facing. We would at least make the request that there are more social workers out there, especially for those who are on the path, the elderly, that many of those the disabled, and many of those whose roofs that we can't even reach to. I mean, we are one individual, one person. So, and our constituents expect us to visit every single home, which is just not possible in a short space of time since the hurricane, and especially in the rural areas. I would say probably only 1% of my constituency has gotten back electricity, and that is the area within closer to Mandeville itself. And while sitting here, I got a request from the police if we could provide a generator for the Cottage Police Station, because I don't think that they will be getting back light by the 13th, as you have somewhat committed that most would have gotten back light. But that's the only police station in Northwest Manchester. It is the largest policing area in Jamaica by square miles for that police station. My response to the senior officer who made the request is that I still have not gotten any resources as yet. And I would plead to the Prime Minister, since I'm in Parliament, if something could be done to assist the Cottage Police Station. The issue of farm roads, I hope that, because that is an issue, especially in constituencies like mine. The Minister of Agriculture is here. I know he would be in a similar situation, because I'm an agriculture dependent, and the minister knows my constituency and how dependent we are on agriculture. But many of the farm roads have been damaged by the rainwaters. And this gives us an opportunity, Prime Minister, because what has been budgeted for farm roads doesn't take into consideration proper drainage for those farm roads. So I'm pleading that whenever there's an additional budget to deal with farm roads, that drainage, and because of that, many of them, you don't even need a rainfall like this for damage to be done on them. But if it is that we're looking for, as you keep repeating, how it is that we protect the economy itself, it is by doing the job right the first time. So I hope to hear something on the farm roads, but also as soon as possible, the response to farmers. I mean, I have to be using what I have in my CDF now until we hear something from the Ministry of Agriculture to respond to my farmers. Irish potato has gotten devastated. Those who have carrots in the ground, it won't last. Sweet potato are similar. The yam farmers have been affected badly. Yeah? And for me this is a livelihood of my constituents. I have to now respond immediately. Otherwise, we're going to have poverty running right through constituencies like Northwest Manchester. So those, if we could get some response, agriculture, as soon as possible so that we know how it is that we're going to respond to our farmers immediately. Thank you.
Member from St. Andrews Southwestern.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister, thanks for your update and the news that you brought, because I believe the additional 4 million is going to make a difference. I won't repeat anything that was said before about the distribution of it and how it gets to us and all of that. I have a couple of questions, though, Prime Minister. You did mention when you were talking about some collaboration between the local authorities and some other agencies in terms of clearing of the area, national cleanup. But before you went to national cleanup, you included in that 4 million clearing of areas as one of the activities that we could do. So the question I'm asking, right, is for clarity, because in the constituency now, we have a number of downed trees resting on fences, houses, that will take some resources to be able to cut those up and cart them away. But we don't have sufficient resources to actually do the cleaning up when you put them out. So I wanted to know if there was going to be some kind of joined up nature between those two activities and how you were seeing that. So that's one. I didn't hear outside of that, though, any details about the additional resources to the local authorities in terms of the role that they have to play, whether it is through the Police Department, Board of Health. I know they're collaborating as well with Ministry of Health. But I speak also because the councillors have been saying that they don't have any additional resources, additional resources that they can rely on to be able to also respond. Yeah. So I wanted to place that so you could answer. The other question now, Prime Minister, is really around transparency. So you have spoken about it, and I think we all agree, certainly when you said that all of us here clapped, and we want to make sure that the distribution, the relief is done in a transparent way. I believe I have not heard sufficient from you about that. One is about how we, as members of parliament, operate in a transparent manner so that it's not done it can be seen as a partisan activity. That's one side of it. But even for Ministry of Labor, for example, and any other agency that is distributing relief, I believe it's important for us to have a level of transparency that allows the public, one, to know how and who to contact. For example, let's say they don't want to go to any member of parliament because they don't want anybody to believe that they are political and they want to maintain that independence. Is there, what agency, what number, who do they go to? I think we need to have that information out there. Also, in terms of, you spoke about 5,000 packages to date would have been delivered to the Ministry of Social Security, for example. Where is there a web on the Ministry of Labor website, or where? How do people look and say 5,000 packages have been distributed? How were they distributed? Where were they distributed? Because I believe to ensure that we have confidence in the system and what we're doing, it is important for individuals to be able to go back and look and say, oh yes, these are the areas that I know to be most affected, and that is where I see most of the resources going. So I am very concerned about that. And those are my few questions.
Most Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to thank the members for their very important questions. If I may,
what are the questions you're going to answer?
Start with the response to the member from Southwest, St. Andrew, my sister. Am I allowed to say? Adjoining constituency. And let me say, I agree with you totally that there has to be greater transparency in how the Ministry of Labor and Security goes about the distribution, because
A perennial
it's
child
not
speaking, you do it in a
usually
sir.
seen
See,
happening.
you know.
But it is, based upon the reports that I am privy to. But the public sometimes does not see them moving around and actually doing the distribution. And they want to probably keep it that way because safety reasons, for crowd management reasons, and for privacy reasons, because they are social workers who are trained to respect the privacy of the beneficiary. So they're caught in almost no man's land as to, do we publicize what we do and how we do it? But I do take your point that in a national disaster, we are giving figures, and the public looking on has no other means of verifying that this is so. Is it actually happening? And even on this side, members have said the exact thing that you have said, that there needs to be. So yesterday, we called together all the entities involved in relief, and that was indeed a point that was raised. So I will give you some assurance that you will see some difference. The challenge we face is that, to the point made by the member from Northwest Manchester, that the entities are understaffed. You know what, let me not say that. The entities at this time may be short-staffed. Short-staffed because many of the persons who are going to serve the community come from in proximity or live in the community. So they are suffering from the same deprivation of utilities and services to make them functional. So that was a complaint raised in the coordinating meeting yesterday, that they did not have enough persons who could be mobilized. Many of them were stuck, many of them didn't have electricity. So you're seeing a little bit of a difference now because they have started to come out in a little bit more numbers, which is why we have deployed the JDF. So the DART team, in addition to other units, will be assisting in the relief effort. Right? So you will, from that end as well, you will see even greater transparency. I did take note from the member from Southwest Clarendon regarding the parish office. I took a note of it, and I will have words with the minister to ensure that there is even service to you as the member of parliament and your constituents. In terms of funds for local government, there are several other questions about funds. So what I have announced here today would be the overarching framework as to how the relief project will go. And I've given you some insights as to the exact funding that is available. But there are still some areas which we have not filled out as yet, because they are heavily dependent on assessments. So for example, I haven't said definitively what we're going to do for agriculture. I know the extension officers are in the field, they are checking. And as soon as the Ministry of Agriculture comes to us to say, here is the cost, then the Minister of Agriculture will advise Parliament and the nation as to how we will respond to the agriculture sector. In terms of, and that will include any response for farm roads, for your yam farmers, your potato farmers, and the fishers as well. So the Ministry of Agriculture next week, I'm saying next week, so you have to get them to come in with the assessment for our next sitting. All right, in terms of the time it will take for the CDF funds to be released, I know the member from St. Catherine East, what is it? Eastern St. Catherine, right. You would want me to give you a definitive timeline. I too would like to be able to do so, but at this point, I'm not able to. So in the discussion that I've had with the Minister of Finance, we are trying to ensure that the funding gets to CDF so that CDF can pay. So we're working on it. I wouldn't want to tell you which date it is, but it is going to happen because everybody here is putting the same pressure on me to get it done. So it will get done. All right. It might be early next week. My bad. The question asked by the member from Western St. Andrew, sorry, Southwest St. Andrew, regarding the coordination of the cleanup that you may undertake. And just to be clear, I'm not asking members to use the second allocation to do cleanup. But if there is a tree, for example, that has fallen onto someone's home, you can hire a chainsaw to cut that. Now, the cleanup program that we are envisioning would take the debris in the constituency, the bulky waste, and other cleanup material, and cart it away. That's what we're thinking. So I'm not expecting you to.
I think them are thinking, they don't have a clear plan yet, Them still I think Maggot soon take on a cloth round
here. In terms of the Sandy Gully, by my brother, neighboring constituency because we are joined. We share common infrastructure. So I saw the leader of the opposition standing on the banks of the Jew Gully and pontificating about no, but we understand. We understand.
How disaster money sweet to the Prime Minister.
So the Sandy Gully, by the way, the Jew Gully and all the other gullies are tributaries of the Sandy Gully. The Sandy Gully is in a risky state right now. It's the oldest gully network in Jamaica, built in the 50s. It has reached its useful life. And without question, remember, the gully is carrying more water capacity than it was actually it's a huge gully. But if you look at the capacity and the speed that this carrying water at, you will begin to appreciate that it is at risk. The inverts are at risk, the walls are at risk. So we did spend significant resources in 2011, I believe, in 2010, 2011, to rehabilitate, no, your side as well, to rehabilitate all the way down. At that time, about $700 million. We are going to have to undertake another massive rehabilitation. And I agree with you, not from the top. So it wouldn't be affecting, say, like Minister Clark's area, but it would affect your area where you have mentioned the issues of the cleanup around that river, that area, which is escaping me now. But it is something that the NWA has on its agenda, and I constantly pay attention to it, and I give you the undertaking that we will have to address the Sandy Gully. It affects my constituency, it affects your constituency, and if anything were to happen, there are thousands of people who live on the gully bank, and their homes and lives would be at risk. So it will be addressed. In terms, and Father Ramkisoon can be assured that we would not stand by and allow anything to happen to the facilities there. So that will also be addressed. That breakaway will also be addressed. In terms of the issues raised by the member from Northwest and the member from Southwest Clarendon, the undertaking of Saturday the 13th is an undertaking given by the JPS. It's not my undertaking. I too would be skeptical based upon what I saw. But the JPS is very resourceful in terms of their linesmen and other crew, and they work very fast. I must tell you, they work very quickly. They have the stocks in place, which is 50% of the problem. The other, let's say 25% of the problem is the ability to access. And we have sorted out this access issue between themselves and the NWA. So you're going to see some swift movement in your area, in St. Elizabeth, and those areas as well. But you are going to see some movements, I would say, by Friday in those areas. In terms of the Alley Bridge and those areas that you have mentioned, member, I will have words with the NWA to see what we can do to start repairs or replacement, because I know that is cutting off an entire area. All right. In terms of the police, in terms of the generators, I'm gonna the Minister of National Security is undertaking to
You would have to go down there
pay
with
some
gun,
attention
your
to
turn
see if
there.
we can get some generating independent backup capacity.
You will find gun quicker.
Right. So I was saying that in the treatment of the Sandy Gully, we would also put some resources for New Haven. New Haven is a perennial problem, as we know. But as you mentioned it, I'm fearful of going onto these topics because it draws up. But the truth is that as we look at some areas in Clarendon, as we look at some areas in St. Elizabeth and in New Haven, when we enter the reconstruction phase, there has to be some relocation. There's no question about it. There has to be some relocation. I don't want to bring it up here yet because exactly, we need to put a full plan to the country so that the persons who would be required to relocate understand that it will be done with equity and justice, and that they will not be made any worse off. But I don't want to go into that right now. But I thank the members for the questions, and at the next sitting, I will provide the nation with a more fulsome report.
Hold on there. Make we see announcement
Laid
coming
on
up.
the table of the House are the following. Annual report of the Protected Disclosures Act of 2011 for the calendar years January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2022, and January 1, 2023 to December 31, 2023. Annual report of the Forestry Department for the financial years 2012, 2013, and 2013, 2014, along with their related ministry papers numbered 36 and 37 of 2024, respectively. The Auditor General's Department certified appropriation accounts under Head 06,000 for the Office of the Services Commission, Head 15,000 for the Office of the Prime Minister, and Head 256 for the Tax Administration of Jamaica. Annual report of the Integrity Commission for the financial year 2023-2024, and finally, the Capital Development Fund withdrawal number 1, Order 2024, and its resolution under the Bauxite Production Levy Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We no call crowd,
Bills
but
brought
to
from the
listen.
Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move. Whereas Standing Orders 32A1 stipulates that the sectoral debates shall last no longer than 6 weeks in each year, and whereas the 2024-25 sectoral debate commenced on April 30, 2024, and the 6-week period expired on June 4, 2024, and whereas as on May 29, 2024, the House approved a resolution to extend the sectoral debate until June 25, 2024. And whereas on June 25, 2024, the House approved a resolution to further extend the sectoral debate until July 2, 2024. And whereas, considering the circumstances occasioned by the threat of Hurricane Beryl, the House could not meet on July 2, 2024 for want of a quorum. Be it further resolved that notwithstanding Standing Orders 32A1, the sectoral debate be further extended until July 13th. Yes, July 13, 2024. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing order to enable me to take this motion. Madam Speaker, I'm positive it is not July 13th.
It is.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. It is July 13th.
That next Tuesday
July 13th.
would be, I think, 16th. I'm sure it's the 16th and not the 13th.
Oh, it's August. Yes, you're correct.
Mr. Speaker, it should read then that be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order 32A1, the sectoral debate be further extended until July 16, 2024. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing order to enable me to take this motion.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I'll move the following motion. The Bauxite Production Levy Act, Capital Development Withdrawal Number 1, Order 2024. Be it resolved that the Capital Development Fund Withdrawal Number 1, Order 2023 under the Bauxite Production Levy Act, which was laid on the table of the House on the 9th of July 2024, be approved. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I'll move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice at the next meeting of the House, I'll move the following. The Trademarks Regulation of Agents Rule 2024 Resolution. Whereas Section 78 of the Trademarks Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, provides that the minister may from time to time make such rules subject to affirmative resolution for A, for regulating the practice under the Act, including the service of documents, B, for classifying goods for the purposes of registration of trademarks, C, for making or requiring duplicates of trademarks and other documents, D, for securing and regulating and publishing and selling or distributing in any such manner as he thinks fit of copies of trademarks and other documents, E, for the regulation of trademark agents, F, prescribing fees payable under this Act, G, generally for regulating the business of the office in relation to trademarks and all things by this Act placed under the direction or control of the registrar. And whereas on the 12th day of June 2024, the minister made the Trademarks Regulation of Agents Rules 2024. Now therefore be it resolved by this honorable House as follows. This resolution may be cited as the Trademarks Regulation of Agents Rules 2024 resolution. The Trademarks Regulation of Agents Rule 2024 are affirmed.
Questions and answer to questions.
Mr. Speaker. Oh, go ahead.
Just a minute, please. Leader of the opposition.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I'll ask the Minister of Health and Wellness the following questions.
St. Andrew Western.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I'll ask the Minister of Housing the following question.
Questions and answers to questions. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to sitting of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to introduce and have read a first time a bill shortly entitled the Income Tax Amendment Act 2024.
The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take a motion, notice of which was given earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the bill shortly entitled the Income Tax Amendment Act 2024 be read a first time.
A bill shortly entitled the Income Tax Amendment Act 2024 read a first time.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give second notice of reading of the bill. And Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I'll move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take second reading of the bill and to take it through all its concluding stages.
The question.
Oh, no, other public business. We're in
public
business, right?
Public business?
No. Public business now?
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the matter of public business, there, of course, is the motion that I moved in regards to the extension of the sectoral debate to July 16, 2024. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move, therefore, for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take that motion.
The question is that the standing orders be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which was given earlier. All those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move for the approval of the motion.
The question is that the motion, notice of which minister gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension, bauxite first. The suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion on the Bauxite Production Levy Act that I gave earlier.
Those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to, in an expeditious manner, hopefully, treat with the, if I can, with the motion, the order. Oh my goodness. Regarding the bauxite
Oops, I just realized that me mute. But when you say them a suspend the standing order, it means whatever them a suspend is still under discussion. So they must suspend them standing order to still get them things together. However, the sound should come back now. However, you don't notice what go on in a parliament. Say relief. Now go come to the people of Jamaica. There is nothing the Prime Minister has really put forward that should get the relief effort going on if they cannot decide how much money they're going to put into the effort. If the 4 million from the thingy fund, what the Prime Minister promised before the election, them don't even receive that yet. There is no system in Jamaica to aid emergencies then. God forbid if we have a catastrophe worse than this. We don't have a health care. Just like how people them stay out there now and wait for help. We don't have a health care that would go anyway to cope with the disaster if we ever have a human disaster of such. It would be devastating. Let us listen to this resident of St. Elizabeth while Andrew them keep telling them lie. May I monitor them, I don't mind.
Come over road. 75% of the house stop them gone. Furniture, mash up everything. All vehicle mash up down in there. So we are look some help from any source at all. We can get the help. We need the help. There are some people now have not even the spot with their house. Day. Everything gone. Shop gone. Animal gone. Fowl coop. Goat pen. Everything, you name it. From a barn come has sense. I first we ever see this happening over South St. Elizabeth, yeah. So anyway, we can get the help, brother. Enough people are suffering. Enough people don't have nowhere to sleep tonight. Enough people house, when you look on it, all you can see is the top. No roof at all, not the pan, they don't know where to sleep. And I like say people don't need help. People need help, so we need government and whoever people source we can reach out and help people. People need help, man. It don't make no sense. You know, this is a time and this is a situation here where people, you know, right now from the storm last week, we should have seen more people that come around, you know. You don't even see one JPS man, you don't see one floor man, you don't see nobody who say from the government side of people that say, come make we try to do something to the poor people them and help them. If I did election, you see everybody come by your doorstep and if you eat one dumpling, they want to eat it with you. But no, nowhere to be found, none of them. We need no help, and now we want to know. When election, we don't want to know. We want to know now, right? And people are suffer. Come Barry, for you know no house. You talk to them, you know no house.
You know no house in the region. Everything flat, everything gone. All the good money, people everything gone to the house. Nothing at all left. Farming mash up here, we want to start. We don't want to start that thing. I think I jump down there.
Me know,
the people them gone. Everything, the money in the house gone.
I just need to go. I have to go come about 10 days every day down here and go house to house and you see what I'm going on down here. So. I tell you, so we need help down here. So furniture gone. See all my matches for me provide out this. Furniture gone. Everything. Vehicle mash up everything. We need help, brother. We need help. We don't. The politicians them we don't go and see them when the election. We see them now when we need the help. And we need.
It's not me asking, it's the people of St. Elizabeth. It's the people in the thick of it. The people who went through the eye of the storm. Those are the people who are asking for help. While government and parliamentarian, in a parliament, attack gimmicks and all sort what they can find for talk about. People out there are suffering. People out there are waiting for help from government. But them not even can bring themselves together to say, make we do this emergency. Andrew Holness, Colonel refer to the Westminster system. in this country, any form of emergency, doesn't matter what it is. The government have an emergency cabinet group, which is called Cobra. Anything happening in Britain, if any MP, if any member of the cabinet, not in the country, them have to fly back in to come attend the Cobra meeting, because decision have to be made immediately. But even even days after the disaster, the government is still not clear on how he's going to assist the country financially. The government and the Ministry of Finance cannot get their head around an emergency budget, given what we know unfolding around the country already. If needs be, and we have to put in more, but Prime Minister, the MP them on the ground at the minute, Prime Minister, the 4 million where you promised them, where them are going to work with if you can't come up with that money? What is stopping the government from coming up with that money emergency? Where are all these funds we want to talk about? Is it tied up in bonds? Is it tied up in investment? We don't have to go borrow it and make it some way. The people of Jamaica now go get no help anytime soon. Based on what we want, we know what country. And if them are going to come talk about drain now, this is Monday morning quarterbacking. In hindsight, what we should have done, given the experiences we have of past hurricanes, given how we know we sit in the area of a disaster zone, no sort of preparedness or preventative measure. Why the government don't hire Carlos to advise them through this galangin? Why the government don't hire Carlos to advise them through this galangin? Because up until now, the Prime Minister fly around the country, walk and shake hands around the country, but still we're nowhere close to hearing how Jamaica is going to recover and rebuild. How much money and at what point the money will be available to the MPs on the ground, to ADPEM, to all of the different agencies, NWA and everybody, JPS and everybody, we need the money to bring the recovery and the support and the rebuilding to people. Nothing not going to happen now. It's just promises, argument and conversation and theatrics. Andrew Holness running around, capturing his images for his political campaign. The people on the ground are crying out for help. The people on the ground, Prime Minister, are crying out for help. The MPs across the country, Prime Minister, would like to hear from you when these money will be allocated, will be ready for them. You run down collect and create website to coordinate donation from east, west, north, and south. Because you want to make sure, Prime Minister, you and Leachin and Warrell Reid, come to the Monroe old boys, I beg too. Me see the Monroe old boy, I beg to for Prime Minister. So it's a scam on an uptown boy. I want to grow barefoot a Spanish town and gone uptown gone live. It's a scam. On an uptown boy, a plan pan, we cut the whole on run out. You, Leachin, Warrell Reid, the whole on run come out to come collect. The whole on come to come drain the diaspora. But I am pleading to the diaspora, just like my link pin in at the top here, so. Any community you want to support your family and your community through a community organization on the ground, which is assisting the people. Don't get involved with government and public sector and private sector. The whole of them are thieves. And that's all we know them for. I saw them grow. I saw them live. And that's all we know them to do. So we see all of them are line up on a matey and groupie for getting in everybody's pocket. Nobody can put up the money yet for go assist poor people. A dirty water, the right across Southwest St. Elizabeth at the moment. A dirty water, yes, Prime Minister, dirty water. And I tell we say we now go get light for now. I come for destroy St. Elizabeth. We don't want to help for St. Elizabeth. St. Elizabeth don't generate enough tourist money for extra resources and expedited work pumped into St. Elizabeth. I bet you Negril or Montego Bay wouldn't have left to allowed to suffer so badly and left last. St. Elizabeth, we're in at the eye of the storm. Uno just mobilize 300 JPS workers or linesmen or whatever for send down there. Why the bulk of JPS linesmen and worker never in the worst hit areas from the start? Why the next morning after you fly around the country and do Holness, you never call your American counterpart them and say, whoa, murder, me one can't manage this here. The people of Jamaica now go get no help right now. Because they can't come up with the money for do it. I saw so chatting and chatting. I go on till them forget about we till general election ready. Them just I go chat it out, so. Because if the Prime Minister promised money, even before the election strike, 4 million for every MP. 4 million for every MP to get themselves running on the ground after this hurricane. Them still can't get the money. So there's nothing they can do. Even when the Prime Minister come to them and promise to give them another 5 more million, if they don't get the 100-day promise, Prime Minister, how them go get the crime plan promise? A promising government, a failing government, a failed and its promised government, a government which continue to tell lie, a government where we don't know whether we have 900 shelter, 780 at shelter, 60 at shelter. We don't know. A government where we don't know if them big money where the government are talk about, the MPs will ever see it, or if the MPs see it, the people on the ground will ever see it. Jamaica now go get no help. Jamaica people no make we come together. Them now go help we. So them still a walk and contemplate as to how them fail we, if them fail we, or if them are go help with any at all. Hmm? Them still a decide if them fail we, if them are go help we, if they want help we. We don't see what go on. We don't see say we not go get no help. We the poor people on the ground now go get no help because we don't even have a clear idea as to when the MPs and the other people on the ground are going to get the money them if we start doing the works throughout Jamaica to assist people in rebuilding their lives. Jamaica don't see where it go. Foreign when I had the storm in Jamaica. Foreign we don't have the storm can turn up and tell you how much them a give. If in the Jamaica system, it take tantamount of time to release money. Don't then from the government, come remember say Andrew turn Roy Forrester overnight. Should Andrew not, with his emergency cabinet, start the preparation for the release of those money? Come out and promise them make the country or the MP them feel good. Say money there to deal with the situation. Hear about it and getting it is a completely different thing. When we are going to hear how Jamaica is going to help Jamaicans, when are we going to hear how the Jamaican government is going to help Jamaicans? We hear from international donors how much they're putting towards the recovery and the rebuilding effort of Jamaica. We still haven't had a conclusive argument from the Prime Minister as to how much it will really take. And whatever the Prime Minister promised, we don't know when it will be available to those who need it to get the work going. But the people on the ground, that's why we are count up all of the money in our ways observing. That's why we work and count up all of the money where they might get. Because we know to say, at some point, they might go come tell us something or other. So we want to make sure we keep an eye on every penny where they might walk and collect from all over the place. Because leeching a collect, Monroe old boys a collect, the office of the Prime Minister a collect, the embassies and high commissioner them a collect. When say is a uptown boys, is a big club boys going in. Everybody see the enrichment. All of the big rat them see the enrichment. Will the foreign donors' money even reach to Jamaicans who deserve it, who it is donated to assist? You don't think it will reach there? It now go reach there. We don't say anything are going right now on the government side that is promising. We don't say anything we are going, we're promising. We don't hear anybody, anything from the government. We sound promising to you. We only can say at least them are do all they can to make sure they aid the people. We don't know see what going. We don't know see say be a madness going. But I tell you, Jamaicans, we need to come together. We need to come together and we need to look after one another. Because we see for government, it's all a joke right now. Just listening to them in a parliament, listening to the politically charged answers of the Prime Minister, listening to the political campaign of the Prime Minister at every little opportunity, it's really not about the Jamaican people. This is about mileage. Hold on now. We not go get no help. We have to come together and look after ourselves. Because the foreign people can dip in them pocket. And Jamaica can't dip in for them pocket yet. All what Jamaica walk and promise. All what Jamaica walk and promise. Jamaica still can't come forward with it. The money what Jamaica promised before the earthquake, before the disaster struck, rather, before the hurricane struck, the money that the Prime Minister promised, the MP still not had a $4 million there yet. Him come out this evening and he promised them another $5 million. If they don't get the 4 yet, and when them all get another 5 Prime Minister, and you're going to have to go in a sense of Holness, go dig. We don't know say Jamaica now go get no help. We don't know say we left pan we own already. We don't know say from JPS put up back in something for make money for him and them are go just walk well left with so. The residents on the ground now get no help. Even the electricity where them are talk about, if you look across social media, a lot of residents across the country is reporting that they are paying customer and them not have no electricity. So like how the government lied about the amount of shelter, are they lying about the percentage of roads clear? Or are they lying about the percentage of Jamaicans back on power? We not go get much help. Where this whole nonsense is going, we don't see no emergency put into it. The Prime Minister should be chairing emergency cabinet, making the big decisions. But the Prime Minister quick for run go create a hurricane galangin. All right, then you say it for coordinate donation and provide update on hurricane burial, Prime Minister. How out of power, out of service Jamaicans are going to get those online update, Prime Minister? How people on the ground are going to access those updates online? How much Jamaicans are capable, Prime Minister, in the older generation of navigating your online galangin to find your website to go get update? How much of us, Prime Minister, are literate enough to go and read the update you put palm bagarans, the big boys club, your hand soon pop off, because from this hurricane, you just have grown the world a shake hands up. But yet still, Jamaica recovery effort is not coordinated, Prime Minister. It's not coordinated. JPS and NWA may do work out there. But what about ADPEM and the others and local government? Where you go see the people on the ground and offer any assistance? The Ministry of Social Security offices around the country. Where are these people? Is the government gonna put out a call for volunteers to come and assist in the administrative process of the relief effort? Or not just want special people them they know how cooking the books goes? Jamaica now go get no help. Based on what we see are going, we don't see the effort, the operation, the coordination from the top. The top can't even dispense the money yet. The top can't come to a conclusion of how much money them are going to use, where them are going to get the money from, where them are going to take from yes, where them are going to take from this. So them can't come to that yet. But the Prime Minister tell foreign TV, say, we prepare, we have prepared, yes. That me tell. So when this man talk to foreign people, he might talk to foreign people, he not talk to we. Because I know if he go back, go tell them, go talk to them today, he might go tell them that his team is operating a first world recovery process. The people of Jamaica nah go get no help. Them nah go get it. We don't see the management and the coordination. We don't see the interest and the effort is being put in. Me no see it. See man Rose say how much money them want there. And the old boy them. Me not even keep them donations in pan along for people go believe said go so. But the Prime Minister, the control freak Prime Minister, everything must be done in the office of the Prime Minister. Lachlan, how you do? Everything must be done within the office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, you know, claustrophobic with the amount of things we have at the Prime Minister, with all the things them chuck up around you. What the Prime Minister ought to be organizing at the moment is emergency cabinet meetings, making the big decision to feed down to all the people on the ground where coordinate and carry out the recovery process. Nothing not happening. People are still bawling out for help. But they said this evening the IC thing, if it table, it is said it is on the house to be tabled. Me don't know how much details of it they're going into. I hit me there, I dodge them. But while me there, I dodge them. Let's turn to sulfur, because I'm not sure if I buy into Sulphur's argument well, or if I buy into Sulphur's argument as to the hiccup with the video, because the hurricane and him didn't have access or power. I could buy that. But what I do want, though, Sulphur, is for you to have an interview. Doesn't have to be with me, anybody. You need to have an interview, or you need to sit down in front of your camera, Sulphur, and you need to explain to us further as to the shooting you said you went to do, a filming, so people don't think go up a radio, go up. The filming where you go do. Was it within that filming you were using that prop gun? And was it that prop gun you were arrested for? You need to give clarity on that. You can't just come to me and say you went to do a shooting and Babs, you was arrested. No. You educated, you no fool and we no fool. So you need, based on all of what is going on around you with regards to that video that came out, counter to what the Prime Minister said, you need to give clarity as to what led up to that by way of explaining what were you charged for, what were the twists and turns, were the charges before you started vlogging, did the situation change when you started vlogging? We want to know more. What you gave this evening wasn't enough, even if the explanation is accepted as to why you couldn't have changed the settings. Hold on. Hold on there. They're still up on the galang and the integrity me dodge. But with regards to sulfur, there's a further explanation. Further explanation is required. What you explained this evening is not enough. It may be enough to explain why you didn't get to change the timing on the video. What is not clear is the circumstances of how we got there. We want to understand how you got there. There may be help out there. There are people out there that would want to assist you. But further clarity in your story is required. We do believe that there is an issue of oppression and intimidation going on here. But I need further clarity. We need further clarity. If we have to continue to champion your cause, we need further clarity. I'm not sure I'm satisfied with the explanation given. So I think You need to provide more clarity to the public. You need to also prove to the public that you're not under duress. Thereby, you need to come live, because today wasn't a live broadcast. It was another pre-recorded video. It was a premiered, it was a recorded video broadcast live. We actually need to see someone interview you or to see you live and camera. We need more information. I am not 100 comfortable with the explanation given. Then done and gone, so them now go into the detail of the report. But hopefully it should be, if it's now tabled, the gleaner them would not try over it, because once it's tabled, I think it becomes public, I think. So it should be on the Integrity website, probably in the next few hours or days or so, but let's see. But the IC annual report, it was said, tabled, but them not get into anything. Hold on there. So the heathen them get up out of Parliament and gone. But on the issue of sulfur needs to prove more to the public. Sulfur needs to prove integrity. Hey, it's on website now. The annual report, for those of you who wants to read the annual report. I wonder if we can find nothing in illicit. I go hold on, let me scroll through it. We not read nothing for tonight, you know. We not read nothing for no. You go and scroll through it to see if we find nothing about illicit meant. Hold on there. Publication reports. What is my thing? Hold on. Publication annual report 22, 23, 23, 24. So that's annual report 23, 24. Hold on there. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, the people. Me just escape through it quickly. What's the date on this? I'm just skipping through it quickly. The Wicked Seymour Panton, June 24th. Yeah. Right, let's. Can I? How may I do this here again? Hold on. Hold on. I hope I will go track over these report to find what we want. Obstacles, the director of information and complaint. People who can go to the whoever wants to read it. It's available on the Integrity Commission website. We just have illicit enrichment. Let me see if no name I go pop up. Illicit enrichment act, blah blah blah. Misunderstanding of the law, blah blah blah. One declarant in keeping with the law, opportunity, blah blah blah, and just paying 250. Are they talking about Dwayne Jones there? Me not look for read nothing, I just a scan to find names. In the New Kingston Business District on no zinc fence. In 2020, a serious criminal act was committed in the vicinity of the office of the commission. One of the director was shot and robbed. Oh, they want to talk about something there. What am I the name? Greg Christie. People may scroll through and look for name, and I'm not reading. Vegas girl there again. Don't speak truth, no misinformation. How you define read everything? Fish not just part of Dunce viewers can read. Vegas wife, it did for you go read yourself, you know. Me never got university to come read for you, nah nobody. So if I read you want me to read it for you understanding. Me nah read it for you. Me never realize I not hit me up on screen. Me nah read it for you. You can't go and done. Let me go and flick through and see if me find Andrew name. Oversight Committee and Minister of Another also equivocally in his comment was very comprehensive document, nearly pages for all. People may just have flicked through. May I look to see if there's any naming or the Integrity Commission hang us out to dry again. But the general comment about if I have time to study this report, I can read. This is a long report. I can read this too now. But I just have flick through to see if any name be clear when it comes to the illicit enrichment or them people just go kick the ball down the court. Or them just go kick the ball down the court. Chapter 2 Executive Summary. Statutory declaration, the commission, I look for people name, I look for full details at the moment. So all of the JLP, them where they heart to go bodum tonight. Women not find the gleaner, we find by a morning, the gleaner have something to talk. Including aforesaid cases, with honorable cases, including accordance to integrity cases tabled in Parliament, 2 cases. Me I look for name. Me I look for name. Me don't know how these reports are name deprived. I hope I'm only when me can call in and say some figure yeah. When me can call. Carlos, where you there? The report released and I can't go read now. I can't go start read. All me I do, me I look for the 6th name. When me have time, me will read it. I want to find if the 6th name in there, I want to find them first. One of there still. We can go and look while me I go to see if I no spot no name. Because I know some me done like that. Page intentionally left blank. Okay. Governance structure. In regards to the commission, we currently compromise the following members: Honorable Justice Seymour Panton, blah blah blah. Them are the commissioners, the directors. They made a different body within the ISC with the different bits and pieces of work. Director of Corruption Investigation, Director of Corrupt Prosecution. Statutory requirement for content annual report. Second schedule. We just search people, we just search information and complaints division. Matrix of statutory declaration outcome. Category number of statutory declaration received. Parliamentarians 549. Number of statutory declaration examined 374. Number of statutory declaration certified 231. Number of public officials referred for investigation 13. Examination in working practice 67 for councillors. Number of statutory declaration received 1,149. 72 examined, 45 certified, 3 referred to for investigation, and 38 examination in work in progress. Senior public officials. 1,050 senior public officials sending their statutory declaration. 109 have been examined. 79 have been certified. 8 have been referred to for investigation. 26 are in work in progress. Other public officials. 162,744 declaration received. 1,769 examined. 1,426 certified. 35 referred for investigation, and 562 are in work in progress. That means them still investigate. Them are still work on those. So you see the total in. I don't know I'm in a good per number. So 1,268 statutory declaration examined. 988 overall verified. 7 public officials, 30 SDs referred to for investigation, and 693 in work in progress. So that's statutory declaration examination. Complaint management. 172 complaint information received. 19 complaints referred for investigation. 7 complaints kept in review, and 85 complaints are closed. And these are complaints between March 2019 and April 2019 to March 2024. And you can see 2019 to 2020, 23 complaint, 2020 to 2021, 91 received, and it goes on. It keep rising year by year. Last year it took a dip. It's a bit up this year. Information and Complaints Division. Protected disclosures. Number of public bodies that submitted protected disclosure protocol. 16.9% in 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, 81%, and 2023 to 2024, 94%. Human resources capacity 20. I don't know, I'm not good with number. Human resources capacity 93%. 25 staff as at March 31st this year. Office of Director of Complaint. Right, yes, it's not really important right now to me. No, to no, where I look for Andrew them. Andrew them where I look for. We are looking for Andrew them. I hope me not bored, you know. It will be too long to read. I'm just scanning. It's too long to read tonight. So me just a scan. Me just a scan. The Director of Information and Complaint continue to pursue the 5 board objective established in the financial year 2021 and refined in 2022 with the aim to continue to strengthen the dividend cord. Okay. Report an allegation of conflict of interest, corruption, fraud, contract procurement breaches pursuant to Section 38 of the Integrity Act. 16. Matters identified based on the Director of Information and Complaint Discretion. 3. Protected Disclosure Act. 3. Information and Complaint referred to Director. Okay. Failure to file a statutory declaration under Section 43, subsection 1, subparagraph A of the Integrity Commission Act. 30 days statutory notice. No politician, no parliamentarian, but 9 public official. Discharge of liability, 3 parliamentarian, 55 public officials. Prosecution, none of them. Failure to provide information, Section 3(1)(b) of the Integrity Commission Act. Discharge of liability, 3 parliamentarian, 1 public official. Prosecution, none. Provide false information. Providing false information under the Integrity Commission Act and the Corruption Prevention Act. Investigation, 3 parliamentarian under investigation and 4 public officials. Failure to honor opportunity to discharge liability, Section 43, subsection 3 of the Integrity Act. Prosecution, 1 parliamentarian, 2 public official. Illicit enrichment, Section 14 and 15 of the Corruption Prevention Act 2001. 2 parliamentarian under investigation and 4 public officials. Statutory declaration compliance, 70% of them complied. That's not too important to me right now. Statutory declaration, let's look at these figures. Statutory declaration period ended 31st of December. All heirs. Number of statutory declarant required to file statutory declaration in 2019 were 39,919. Number of statutory declarant received at the relevant declarant deadline was 13,000. So of the 39,919 people that should have filed their declaration, only 13,498 did. So only 37% complied. The 2020 deadline, 40,449 people should have submitted declarations. Only 23,532 submitted their declaration. In the 2021 deadline, 40,347 should have submitted. only 29,207 submitted. The 2022 December deadline, 44,348 people should have declared. Only 31,535 made their declaration. The declaration of last year, December 2023, 22,000 people, 523 should have made their declaration. Only 15,849 made their declaration. Oh God! So I'm got two parliamentarians and illicit enrichment now are sick of 4 public officials. Declaration deadline. All them make no sense to me without the name them. We want to know. All right, no question. New members of Senate, 12 of August 2023. That was his submission deadline. Okay, so members of parliament by the 31st of December, 63 of them submitted their declaration. That's for this 2023, December 2023. All 63 of them submitted. No, all 63 of them reports due on the 31st of December. Only 55 of that 63 submitted their report on time on the 31st of December 2023. 7 people submitted late. 1 is still outstanding. 21 members of the Senate ought to have submitted. By the deadline, 19 had, and 2 submitted late, but those 2 were given, but their submission deadline was from August 2023. So 2 people were late. Hold on, let me the Senate. And none is outstanding at the moment. Former member of the Senate. 2 people should have declared. 1 has. 1 is late, but none is outstanding. All the my graphics up me and I can't read. Me no do maths. I don't know how to read graphics well. Public officials. Number of statutory declaration received. So for the public officials, during April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024, 258,137 public officials declaration received for 2023. For 2024, pretty much the same. Number of statutory declaration received during 2024, 61. But there's a huge drop in a, I don't understand number anyway, we can't work out them, yeah. So no know so me dance. People like Carlos, them who can concentrate when it come to number, we work out them something that we can't concentrate for long when we see number. Hold on, so me I look for names. Me are looking for names. If no name published, or them just have upon this string of these 6 people, 2 MP and 6 public official. So Juliet can't say they're not talk about illicit enrichment. Examination, matrix of statutory declaration, outcome. Parliamentarians, examine certified. So for 2023, statutory declaration declared 1,178, 112 certified, all of them see me there just name me and look fine, no? But it look like it carry around and around the garden like a teddy bear. I'm not really interested in the figures tonight. When we have time to sit down and read and process the entire report. But for now, we'll look for the crux of the matter, which is the illicit 6 that we're concerned about and that we want to hear about. Who under investigation, I would just go here about investigation and still have to wait another year to speculate. Hold on. Categories of complaint received by the Integrity Commission. The numbers of complaint information received for the period was 172. However, the nature of some matters fall within more than one category as shown on the table. Corruption, fraud, 41 complaints. Integrity, irregularity and impropriety, 63. Conflict of interest, 30. Contract procurement breaches, 29. Licensing permission, 5. And other breaches, 62. Protected disclosure. We'll look for names. We're looking for names. I can't even see where I'm going in a comment coming in the PDF area. Just a scroll through and a look. Just to find a name. Hold on, the protected disclosures by the designated authority. For the period review, 20 disclosures were received by the division and 7 protected disclosures matter were carried forward for the previous period. 9 of these disclosures were reviewed and assessed, of which 6 matters were closed and 3 were referred to the Director of Investigation. Therefore, 18 matters are in work in progress. I know there's something that we are waiting on. When we have time, We will go through the detail of the report. But we walk and look for name. I'm not seeing a name yet. Hold on. I think I should put the commission seek to ensure that there are no illicit enrichment prior to certifying a statutory certification. You know what that means? In effect, the true and complete disclosure made by declarant, coupled with the commission research and third-party verification, will inform its analysis and subsequently findings. Succinctly put, the commission seek to ensure that there is no illicit enrichment prior to certifying a statutory declaration. So they can't declare no illicit enrichment until that's all that nonsense. Hold on. Somebody else may have to go help find them name if them exist. Cause my iron brain I get tired now. And all me search through is to find if anybody was named. I'm not even halfway through the report yet. Investigation division. Complaint, case closed. 81 investigation closed and report tabled. 29 complaint referral received. Total contract monitored 1,575. Value of monitored contract 103 billion, 134 billion Jamaican dollars. Total distance to travel monitoring. Ratio of case to inspector. Human resource capacity. No. Contract procurement and corruption investigation. 19th of these investigations are by referral. Matters tabled in Parliament, 6 matters closed in Parliament inquiry. Matters terminated, 2 matters referred intentionally. Investigations. Particulars of report tabled over the reporting period. People may get tired. Carlos would do better upon this report. Carlos understand numbers. Me don't understand numbers. My main interest is here searching for names at the moment until I have time to study the report, which I will not be able to do on the weekend because it's a long ass report to sit down and read and wrap one's head around. I know Zara Burton and everybody, all of the journalists, them, I read right now and I probe them way through just to come up with the illicit six. And that's all we're concerned about right now, you know. Who are the illicit six? Who are the illicit six? That's all we're concerned about right now. The rest of the report couldn't really sit down right now. One whole heap of money reading in your fiddle. When we can only do this in a calm, quiet, private time. When we can understand all of the different things them, because the hope a number were there. They make something that will mad me. So, me also depend on Carlos, Zara Burton, and the whole of them something there. List of non-compliant bodies for 2020, 23, 2024. Council of Community of Colleges of Jamaica. Ministry of Justice, non-compliant. Hey. Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. Them were at task at the moment. Ah, Jesus, poor we. And you take. Oh dear, I mean, go halfway through the report already, you know? Only halfway through. And all we're looking for is names. Names. Are there any names published? Then if we not tell we that about illicit enrichment until blah blah blah, no verify. That means some people think just now go verify if you go here so then in the eliciting belonging value of contract per methodology. Them that's something for numbers, people. Yeah, look for name. Everybody know me done already. Mr. Philip Powell, Member of Parliament, Kingston East of Port Royal. The exemption which was granted to Mr. Powell, until I recognize that Mr. Powell of Kingston is the managing director of this site, Eco Solution. Parliamentarians exemption. Okay. Senator Damian Crawford, the exemption was granted in respect to Senator Damian Crawford on the 16th of June 2023, recognized that the senator is a businessman whom from time to time entered into contract with the government and its agencies. Senator Cavan Gale, exemption was granted in respect to Senator Gale, recognizing that the senator is a businessman who may from time to time enter into contract with government and its agencies. Public and private partnership database, blah, blah, blah. Land, both crown land and government owned and other government owned land. Land divestment. My people, me go to bed, I tired. I tired. Whole heap of people are going to try over this. And if name in the woman not find yet, somebody are going to find it. Hold on there. Somebody is going to find it. But you can say we look through it as soon as it was upcoming on. So as soon as them table it, them are going to put it up on the website. So everybody a try through at the moment. Referral for prosecution. Well, this year around 20 or less than 20. Corruption Prosecution Division Dashboard. 6-year comparison. Time we're taking to dispose of matters where charge is laid. For the period. Debbie and Beat and teach and everybody may I go sleep. But may I go ask Debbie and Beat and teach and anybody else to help me probe through if they can find anything where we are looking for until we have time for really sit down. We probably all need to take a week off. Corruption Prevention Stakeholder Anti-Corruption Strategy Division. We probably need to all take a week off to study this report, yeah. Commission of Parliament. That a human resources capacity. The problem of corruption, oversee of Jamaica anti-corruption framework. When a report is be a platitude, media engagement during the period under review, the division as part of the public outreach education campaign generate public education content which was placed by Executive Commission on our Twitter page. constraint. The division was constrained by staff and blah, blah, blah. Oh God. Anyway, my people, we will continue search through this thing tomorrow. If no name in there, we will find it or somebody will find it. As well as one can do our own search. It's on the Integrity Commission website. But it no look too promising. I don't know if we're going to find anything. But never mind. We will see you tomorrow. We can't find the name. I'm hide them. I give me problem now. But if the names are in the report, guarantee you by tomorrow we are going to know who they are. But for what me I find at the moment, me not find anything further than the kicking the ball down in the grass some more. If it the further down, if further details are down there, it will be found. But me not go strain my eye any further, my people. So me will soon tomorrow. We'll pick up on this. All right? So we'll take care. And I will see you all tomorrow. I am a brain tired, you know. Good night from Global Television.